My life was a tangled mess of secrets and regret, a burden heavy enough to crush me every waking moment. Sarah, my anchor, my love, my everything deserved so much more than the shattered pieces of a man I had become. Our story, once a vibrant tapestry of shared dreams and laughter, had been stained by my unforgivable actions. I often wonder how I got here to this desolate place, where guilt is my constant companion, and peace feels like a forgotten myth. It started subtly, as these things often do, a slow erosion of boundaries, a casual conversation that lingered too long, a feeling of being seen in a way Sarah had perhaps stopped seeing me, or maybe I had just stopped letting her. My relationship with Sarah was comfortable, a warm, familiar blanket that had enveloped me for 7 years. We had built a life together, brick by painstaking brick. A home filled with memories, laughter, and the quiet understanding that only comes from deep connection. We talked about marriage, about children, about growing old. Together our future seemed clear, a golden path stretching out before us. But beneath that comfort, a subtle discontent had begun to fester. I felt unheard, sometimes unnoticed, a shadow in our own narrative. It wasn't Sarah's fault, not entirely. I failed to communicate my feelings. I held back my frustrations, letting them simmer until they boiled over into a silent resentment. I craved something new, something to spark the dying embers of excitement within me. It was a selfish desire, a gaping void I chose to fill with the wrong person. Emily entered my life like a sudden burst of sunlight in an otherwise cloudy day. She was vibrant and quick-witted, a stark contrast to my increasingly subdued existence. We met at a work conference, an innocent enough beginning, but the spark between us was immediate, undeniable, and dangerous. She listened, truly, listened to my ramblings about life and work and my unspoken discontents. She laughed at my jokes with a genuine warmth that made me feel seen, validated. She offered a different perspective, a fresh energy that I desperately craved. We started meeting for coffee, then for lunch, then late-night drinks turned into something more profound, something illicit. Each stolen moment with Emily was a cocktail of exhilarating thrill and gnawing guilt. The thrill was intoxicating, a high I chased with reckless abandon. The guilt was a parasite growing within me, feeding on my integrity, on my love for Sarah. I became a master of deceit, crafting elaborate lies to cover my tracks. My phone was a fortress of secrets, my schedule a labyrinth of carefully planned alibis. Every text message, every late-night call, every fabricated excuse chipped away at the person I used to be. The man who adored Sarah, who cherished her, who swore to protect her, was slowly being replaced by a stranger, a dishonest shell. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. The pull toward Emily was too strong, the escape she offered too tempting. The lies became my new normal, a suffocating blanket I wrapped myself. In daily, I would tell Sarah I was working late or at the gym or meeting an old friend while I was actually with Emily, sharing intimate moments, sharing parts of myself I had once only shared with Sarah. The hardest part was looking Sarah in the eyes, seeing her trust, her unwavering belief in me, and knowing I was shattering it piece by piece. Her unsuspecting love was a constant mirror, reflecting my betrayal back at me, a relentless reminder of my moral decay. I remember one evening, Sarah asked me if everything was all right, if I was happy. I just nodded and mumbled something about stress at work, a pathetic excuse that tasted like ash in my mouth. She looked at me with such genuine concern, such tenderness, and I felt a wave of self-loathing so intense it nearly brought me to my knees. How could I do this to her? To the woman who loved me unconditionally? I felt the distance growing between us, a silent chasm forged by my lies. Sarah started asking questions. Not accusatory ones, but gentle inquiries about my sudden changes in routine, my distant demeanor. My heart would pound in my chest every time she spoke, fearing discovery, dreading the inevitable confrontation. I began to resent her questions, her concern, her very presence, because it highlighted my duplicity. I was trapped in a web of my own making, slowly strangling myself with threads of deceit. The inevitable finally arrived, not with a bang, but with a whimper, a quiet, crushing devastation. Sarah found out. It was a text message. A stray detail in my phone I had carelessly left unlocked, a name she didn't recognize, an intimate phrase that shattered her world in an instant. I remember her face that day, etched with a pain so profound, so absolute, it will haunt me until my dying breath. Her eyes, once filled with love and warmth, were now pools of hurt and betrayal. She didn't scream, she didn't shout. She just looked at me with a silence that spoke volumes of broken trust and shattered dreams. The air in the room was thick with unspoken accusations, with the weight of my terrible secret finally exposed. My carefully constructed house of cards collapsed in an instant, leaving me standing amidst the rubble of my own making. I tried to explain, to apologize, to beg for forgiveness, but the words caught in my throat, choked by my own cowardice and shame. There was nothing I could say, nothing I could do to undo the damage I had inflicted. The trust was gone, irrevocably broken beyond repair. Her tears were daggers piercing my heart, each one a testament to the pain I had caused. She just kept asking, why me, why us, why would you do this after all we built together? And I had no good answer, only pathetic excuses and a deep, overwhelming sense of regret. The days that followed were a blur of grief and recrimination. Sarah moved out, taking with her not just her belongings, but all the warmth and light from our home. The silence she left behind was deafening, a constant reminder of my betrayal. I tried to reach out, to call, to send messages, but my pleas were met with cold silence or a firm refusal to engage. She deserved better than me. I knew that in my heart of hearts, Emily tried to be there for me, to offer comfort, but her presence only deepened my shame. She was a symbol of my downfall, a constant reminder of the choice I had made, the family I had destroyed. I couldn't look at her without seeing Sarah's tears, without feeling the sting of my own remorse. Our connection that once felt so vibrant and exhilarating now felt hollow and tainted. The affair quickly dissolved once its clandestine allure was gone, replaced by the harsh reality of its destructive consequences. I was left alone with my guilt, with the emptiness of my actions, and the crushing weight of what I had lost. I lost Sarah. I lost our future. I lost a part of myself I could never get back. The hardest part is living with the knowledge of the pain I inflicted. The image of Sarah's face that day is seared into my memory, a constant torment. Her trust in me was absolute, and I shattered it. Into a million pieces, I carry the weight of her heartbreak every single day, a punishment far worse than any anger or retribution she could have thrown my way. I see couples walking hand in hand, laughing, sharing tender moments, and a wave of profound sadness washes over me. I think of what Sarah and I had, what I so foolishly threw away. I often replay the moments leading up to my betrayal, searching for a different path, a fork in the road. I should have taken a word. I should have said a feeling. I should have confronted. instead of escaping. If only I had been brave enough to voice my true feelings to Sarah, instead of seeking solace in another. It could have been different. It feels like a futile exercise, a journey into a past that cannot be changed. I reflect on the nature of love and trust, and how fragile they are, how easily they can be broken, and how incredibly difficult they are to rebuild. True love demands honesty and respect, and I failed on both counts. My actions were not a reflection of Sarah's worth, but a mirror of my own insecurities, my own weaknesses. I blamed her for my discontent, but the truth is, I was discontent with myself. I sought validation outside our relationship because I wasn't strong enough to find it within myself or to communicate my needs to my partner. The shame is a deep, corrosive wound that may never fully heal. I understand now that cheating is not just about the act itself. It is about the ripple effect it creates, the destruction it leaves in its wake. It destroys trust, it breaks hearts, it shatters futures, it tarnishes everything it touches. The person who cheats might seek temporary pleasure or escape, but they ultimately sacrifice their integrity, their peace of mind, their ability to look at themselves in the mirror with pride. I lost all of that. The cost of my momentary lapse in judgment, my selfish pursuit of fleeting excitement, was astronomical. I lost the most important person in my life, the person who knew me better than anyone and loved me, despite my flaws. I traded genuine, lasting love for a cheap imitation, a fleeting thrill that brought nothing but sorrow and regret. I have tried to move forward to build a new life, but the ghost of my past follows me relentlessly. The lessons learned are bitter ones, forged in the crucible of pain and loss. I hope one day to forgive myself, or at least to come to terms with the irreparable damage I have caused. True forgiveness might be an elusive dream, a luxury I no longer deserve. But some scars run too deep. Some wounds never truly heal. They just fade into a dull ache, a constant reminder of a terrible mistake, and the love that was lost forever. Because of it, I whisper Sarah.